Welcome everyone to the session on the IoT, which is when things start to think. We have a pretty interesting session ahead, and a lot of experienced and people both on the startup side as well the customers of the products developed by the startup. So I'd like to invite Mr. Srikanth Gopalakrishnan, Vice President from SAP, to moderate the session.
Can you guys hear me? Okay. Yeah, thanks, Sanjay. So I think it's a very, very interesting topic as far as I'm concerned, and we have a powerhouse panel that's going to be giving you practical use cases as to how we plan to go ahead with this. So basically, I think if you look at it from my perspective, IoT is starting to transform things pretty significantly. The very fact that you have connected things is not the story in itself. The fact that we're actually able to bring about business model transformations from there. And when I say business model transformations, there are companies looking to see if their existing business model still works or not. So it's almost like companies are starting to rethink how their business works in the short term, in the medium term, and in the long term. And I think these are the exciting possibilities that IoT brings to the table and connectedness brings to the table. So I just want to leave it at that in terms of imagination that you might have, things and ideas that you can grab from this particular session and pop as part of the overall summit that we have here. I will basically introduce the panel that we have and then have them give you or show you what use cases they are working with and what sort of success stories that they have. So I'll start with Captain Seshadri. He's actually GM for products at Eureka Forbes. And please, sir, if you could. Thank you. Thank you. And we've got actually Captain Seshadri from Eureka Forbes is working with iBot systems. And I'd like to invite Sanjay, who's basically the founder, to come and So we've got another power couple with us, and that's basically Krishnan, who is the co-founder and CEO of Flutura, and Sandeep Sreekumar from Henkel, who is the business process owner for manufacturing. I'd like to invite both of them on stage, please. And last but not the least, I would like to invite Varsha Tagare, who's a senior director with Qualcomm Ventures, and please, ma'am, if you could. So I think what we're going to do is I'd like to invite Varsha on stage here to basically start off with Qualcomm's experiences with IoT and where you think that IoT is headed from an overall perspective. So I'll stop there and I'll probably hand it over.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly introduce us. We are a 3-person team here in India. Karthee, myself, and Swapna, and we have a $150 million India fund. So all the startups here in IoT, welcome to talk to you guys. We focus across hardware, enterprise, technology, infrastructure, as well as the app ecosystem. Some of our investments are mentioned below here, but I will go forward in the interest of time. We also have Qualcomm Design Center in Bangalore, where we house companies to help them in the hardware space. Couple of the companies, robotics, we have a company called Arc Robotics from Bangalore, also artificial machines from the smart home area working with us. So this is a separate facility provided by Qualcomm Corp. So please stay tuned on their activities. We get in companies, help them on all aspects, including IoT. Now a question for you guys. How many guys believe that this will be a child market? Show of hands. Believers. Okay, fantastic. We think so too. And I'll tell you why. We divided the world. IoT is a very large part. Oh, you know, the light is on me, so I'm trying to be a little away. Thank you. So we divided the world to make sense of what this IoT means from a use case standpoint. So here we said, sorry for this word, but a word called smart bodies. Humans will become intelligent, all body parts will become intelligent. Smart homes, and we have a case study here on smart homes. Smart cities, the government is pushing this initiative, and smart transport. And in each of these vertical markets, I can give you good examples of companies that have now become billion-dollar companies. So Fitbit, which is one of our investment, that is in the smart body space. It helps you be fit. Really nothing spectacular if you think from what we were able to do before, but really got everything put together in a simple user experience. And why is it IoT? Is because it's getting all your sensor data and feeding it back and helping you with a use case of staying healthy. It has been a great, really a great business. Another one is Cruise, which is in the smart transportation space. Cruise enables you to become an autonomous car. So Cruise was acquired by GM to build autonomous car, another billion-dollar company. Below that are all our, I would say, toddlers. They have not yet entered the unicorn club, but companies that provide technology building blocks, whether it is related to camera like Matterport, Blipper, Clarify, or people that will provide connectivity. So we think there's opportunity in a vertical stack provider. And I gave you these 4 use cases. The gentleman here will give you industrial use cases. So both in consumer and in the enterprise, there are vertical use cases where the entire solution stack can be interesting, or there could be some of the horizontal building blocks that would be interesting. There are 4 challenges in IoT, and I've really tried to simplify them. Diversity. I was talking to the Eureka Forbes gentleman here, and we were talking about if I have a Eureka Forbes machine at home, I have an AC from LG, and then I have, I don't know, something from Videocon. As a user, I'm confused. Am I going to have 3 apps to manage all those things, or is there a role for somebody else? So it's very diverse in terms of the devices that you're going to manage. They're going to have different kind of software and also connectivity. Some of them may not afford a protocol like 3G. They may want to do Wi-Fi. They may want to do Bluetooth. So it's really very challenging from all aspects, all the 3 aspects. And that's where the opportunity can be for all of you as well as for Qualcomm. What we are trying to do here to help the ecosystem, trying to make the hardware simple. The entire challenge, that's our core IP, and that's where we are trying to shine in the IoT space. To give you an example, in the drones area, what we've done here is we've really come up with a complete package. Initially, when you had to design a drone, you had to figure out the hardware, you had to go figure out the software, get all the motor controls, get the vision controls, etc. What we've done is come up with something called Snapdragon Flight, and I'm sorry that some of this doesn't project well here. But the goal is that out of the box, like you got a PC, like you get a phone, you get something called a flight kit. You can take the flight kit and build your system on top. And there are various versions of this flight kit, a starter version, a middle version, etc. And each one of them can then become a base platform on which you can write your software or hardware. 3 companies that come to mind. DJI is a large company now in China, which actually started the whole drone revolution. The other one is GoPro, I think all of you guys know GoPro, as well as Zero Tech, which is in China. All of these guys, and there are 2 in India as well. They're all working on building these drones, and I think it'll become much easier for whether you're a consumer or if you're an enterprise to build your software or a complete stack in the drone case, because now you're getting somewhat of the hardware platforms for those vertical applications. The other example I like to give is in the camera space. So here we're trying to make the hardware smarter. We all have cameras. They are either security cameras at home or they are cameras in the phone, right? They were there, they were taking passive pictures, and we had to figure out what to do with them. Whether I wanted to send it out or in the security case, the software figured out if there was a breach, if somebody else was trespassing on the perimeter. The goal here is to make this camera smart. So in case of security, they would know if it is a human that's entering, if it is an animal that's entering, and then trigger an action accordingly. The same, I think the perfect use case of this is really in the consumer space is GoPro. Now that it's become internet enabled, it can do most of the things for you. You don't have to come back home and then download all your pictures. So compared to the drone, where it is a complete hardware platform, we're also looking at providing some of these building block technologies. So you can use this technology and put it in your app, and then you don't have to worry about the sensor or the input coming from the camera, but you really worry about the core software or the hardware that you'll build around it. The other use case in the consumer space is in transport, and this really applies only to the world where it lives in rectangles and squares. Doesn't apply. Doesn't apply to the Bangalore traffic. Doesn't apply to India. I think the autonomous cars here will have a really hard time. But where you have roads that are in X and Y axes, right? We can make them autonomous here. And this is, again, this company we talked about, Cruise. It uses LiDAR, or it uses image recognition to know what the traffic is like. It uses the maps from Google and then figures out how to drive around. And now you've seen that being used not just by the OEMs, not just the General Motors of the world, but Ola and Uber. Uber actually started a trial already. Singapore started a taxi service, right? So it's coming to life. I mean, you and I can actually experience. I was very afraid of autonomous car, and I sat in one, and it's actually okay. You sort of get used to the feeling that, okay, somebody else is driving, and it's actually quite safe, especially in this world of X and Y axis. We had some, I think, accidents with Tesla in the US this year, but it's improving. So you see a great use case where the drivers, the Olas and the Ubers of the world are not dependent on the driver fleet anymore. They can give you the great experience of click of a button taxi service without being supply constrained, specifically on the human power. Now, within Asia, I think there's a lot of activity. These were all examples from the US or the European markets because they're really developed. And we think now India, and as you'll hear from the panelists here, even India or Asia is really ready. Specifically within India, we are seeing a lot of drones-related activity, and I think it's really great to see homegrown drones here in India. A lot of activity in industrial IoT because there's clear ROI. I think that's really the pain point. If you have somebody who's willing to either buy additional software or hardware for saving customer support cost or saving customer satisfaction cost, then you will see great adoption by the enterprise. And in India, definitely industrial IoT is picking up. The third one is smart homes. I think here, how many of you guys know, the number of IP devices at home? Less than 10? Less than 5? No show of hands? Nobody has less than 5? You guys have more than 10 IP-enabled devices at home? Okay. You're a very advanced crowd. So, what's happening is devices at an individual level are getting IP-enabled. Whether it is the new security system that you may buy. Of course, your phones are baseline IP enabled, but you have TVs that are IP enabled now. You're going to get, the Eureka, Forbes water purifier IP enabled. So soon you're going to have a bunch of these devices that are IP enabled, and then you're going to have a question whether they are in silos or whether they are in this connected home or a smart home platform. And so there will be an opportunity for an aggregator that can take all of these disparate devices and make sense for an individual who needs to know about all of them instead of one at a time. Right? So we think there's a lot of opportunity here as well. And we are open to this area. We are very excited about it from a business standpoint as well as from venture standpoint. So if you guys have concepts or business ideas that you want to bounce by us, let us know. We also have the Qualcomm Design Center here. So you can also catch up with them for support. They're local here in Bangalore. With that, I'll come to an end and give the mic over to my fellow panelists. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Varsha. So we'll have a long session of questions at the end. So if you have any questions, just hold on to it or write them down. We will have a slot specifically for that. So I think as the next part, I think we wanted to actually showcase two examples. I said we're looking at power couples. We've got a startup and basically a company that's using the technology solution that the startup has come up with. So I think we'll start with Sandeep from Henkel. Sandeep is actually a business process owner for manufacturing, where there is a manufacturing use case, and they've been working closely with Krishnan from Flutura. So that's the power combo. I'll give it to Sandeep right now.
Thank you. Okay, so my name is Sandeep again, and you might be wondering what is a business process owner. So business process owner is just a new terminology coming up in our industry. So in our industries of manufacturing, where digitalization is basically taking a lot of importance. So I'm surprised that I didn't hear a lot of terminologies like Industry 4.0, which is getting a lot of importance in Europe, in US, smart factories. But again, this is an area where we will discuss about for the next some time. So just to introduce about Henkel. Henkel is a German company, German manufacturing company. We basically operate in 3 different sectors. One is a laundry and home care, we have leading brands like Persil's and Prit. And in the beauty care, I don't know whether you heard of Schwarzkopf. Schwarzkopf is one of the leading salons around the world. A bit pricey, but one of the leading one. And the one I represent from my industry is adhesives. So we make industrial adhesives, and we are the world's #1 in industrial adhesive. We capture more than 60% of the world market. We supply more than 700,000 tons of adhesives to this industry annually, and we build up factories around the world to handle. So we have around 170 factories spread around the world, around 33 in Asia Pacific, in 14 countries. So that's how it is spread. And I basically take care of this Industry 4.0 or Smart Factory initiative for Asia Pacific. So that's pretty much my role. Okay, so the context today about the Smart Factory, we are talking about a plant in China. This plant is in Shanghai. It's called Dragon Plant, and we are building one in India this year. It's called Ganesha. Just to make sure that we are also competing. Okay, so this is called the Dragon Plant with an annual capacity around 500,000 tons of adhesives. And it's a massive site. It's like it's written, it's like a 20 football sized site. And this has been working since 2014 in China. Okay, now we come to, and this has been a question that I hear it is quite important, where people talk about business cases, like where is industrial IoT or where this comes in. From my perspective, this is a very wrong concept, because the amount of opportunities that is in the industry is humongous. Since we started this program 4 years back, the amount of projects, when I started the Smart Factory initiative in 2014, there was a very minimal, because we were thinking about, okay, how do I digitalize some set of processes? What should I do? And today, I run around 17 different projects with a number of startups, and I love working with startups, mainly because I get those passion, that enthusiasm, that flexibility, which I somehow lack in big organizations. So I work with a lot of startups, and Flutura is one of the key members we work with. And the use case that we talk about here is something simple called quality. So we hear about customer satisfaction. Fundamentally, as a company, we give very high importance to quality, because our product goes into very highly sophisticated equipments. We goes into Airbus, we goes into Boeing, almost every automobile industry, whether it's Volkswagen, it's Ford, it's Audi, it's BMW, everything uses, whether it's an Apple iPhone, it's a Samsung. So everywhere where you see around, there is Henkel behind it. So it's adhesive. You will think it's something very simple, but there is a lot of sophisticated process goes in to make it work. So when we look at such an industry, where precision is extremely important, when you look at an electronic adhesive or a medical adhesive, so a quality of a product is something which is extremely important. And we have, of course, competitors, and we have specific quality ranges. And the challenge we were tackling here, and I think this was something extremely unique in the industry, and I would say this, bringing up this one has created such an impression in not only in Henkel, among our competitors or even our vendors, customers. They are all very keen to join part in this journey, because Industry 4.0 will not be something customized, or one company will hold that IP, something like that. It will be something that everyone will benefit upon as it grows. So in this particular context, it's all about how do I make sure I deliver a product which is extremely precise in terms of its quality specs. So think about, okay, just I don't know how much you understand adhesives, but think of viscosity as one of the quality characteristics. And we say we are looking at viscosity between just 10 and 20. Now we say to our customers, we'll deliver you between 10 and 20, and that's acceptable to the customer. And what we were thinking is, how do I make sure we deliver it instead of between 10 and 20, how do I deliver it between 15 and 17? Because that's a range where our product behaves the best. So of course you have a lot of challenges in terms of raw materials, operating conditions. So how do I do that? And this was the top challenge. And how do I give that precision into our manufacturing? And this applies to almost everything that you see in industry. Everything is all about how do I customize my production? How do I make extremely very, very narrow spec production? And this is where we started with Flutura around 2 years back. And this is something we have solved. And if you look at from a process perspective, and this is something that makes industrial IoT a bit complex, because it's not only about a hardware, it's not only about a technology of connecting data, it's all about understanding processes, having some domain knowledge and combining it to create a business value. And this is where it actually clicks in. So in our case, for example, what we did is we have raw materials, we have raw material characteristics, we have different processes it goes through during manufacturing. You have machine processes, you have operator, his skill set, and you have weather conditions. So what we did is we said we consider all these data together and we come up with a model where we are able to predict quality. And this was something groundbreaking, because we have always actually looked at orthodox model of manufacturing. The quality of a product is an end result. So you manufacture a product, then you check a quality. Here we were thinking about how do you say the product quality can be predicted. You know that what I'm going to manufacture will be on this range. And this is what has been the target, and this is what we have achieved, and it's on a pilot phase, of course. We are now doing 3 plants in this, and only a couple of production line, but the amount of enthusiasm it has generated is humongous. So this is something we are taking up as a global initiative, and we want to roll it out globally. We have extremely good feedback from our top leading customers, and there is a lot of interest on how do we take it forward. So just to understand business value, so of course customer is of course the focus, central focus of everything, and giving a better value to customer has been the main value. Then if for people who are very much interested in quantifiable results, and this I also hear, not the quality of it, but quantifiable results. This right first time, I heard anyone who is in the industry knows about what right first time means. So something about I manufacture a product, how do I make sure that it's right the first time so that I don't need to go through reworks and things like that. So when you think about volume and cost of rework, it's a humongous cost to this industry. You make a wind blade. So if, for example, we supply to wind blades, we have Vestas and companies like that who uses our adhesive to stick wind blade. One blade, if it doesn't stick, costs around $100,000 worth of loss. So it has to work. The whole idea is that it cannot go wrong. And those areas, whenever we make our adhesive, if it goes wrong, you have, of course, opportunity to rework in some technology, some has to be scrapped. And industry-wide, a percentage of 2 to 3% is normal for reworking. And you take 500,000 ton, 2 to 3% is a large volume. That has to be cleaned up, that has to be go through reprocessing. So that's a massive potential there. Then product scale up. When we talk about product scale up, how long? For example, if you think of one of the major challenge in these industries are, we have less and less time to introduce a product. An Apple phone is launched every 6 months. And every time a new phone comes in or a thing comes in, there is work that has to be done in order to understand what sort of product goes into those things. You have to redesign some, in terms of IoT, you may need a new camera, you need a new adhesive. And we get hardly a month's period to work out what works inside it. And you provide it onto the factory so that they can start manufacturing. So it's a very tight time frame. So product scale up is something, a major challenge for all these industries where time is an essence. And what we look at here is that if we are able to predict quality, if we are able to understand how a product works, and if we have systems that understand the permutations and combination, which humans would never be able to reach, then you will be able to introduce a product much faster. And this for me is an make or break for the industry, because the first industry or the first company who will achieve that, they will capture the world. Because if you are able to deliver a high quality product within 1 week, it does not matter how massive your company is, how much credibility you have. Today's industry needs speed, and that's all it matters. And it can be a very small company who comes up with something, but they say, I can deliver you in 2 weeks. I'm 100% sure they would take the business. So time is something which is extremely important, and that is something that we have been targeting. So I think that's it from the slides perspective. So any questions? I think we have moved it to the last part, right?
Yeah, I mean, if there's anything somebody wants to ask, please do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sandeep. I think one of the things I want to thank Sandeep for is he's flown all the way from Singapore actually to deliver this. So thanks a ton for that. So I'd like to invite Captain Seshadri for a presentation on their use case. Very interesting use case. I think I had a lot of interesting discussions before this meeting, so hope you guys feel the same.
Thank you, Srikanth. Good evening, everybody. Pleasure is mine to be addressing such an august audience. You know, this is the first time I'm meeting, let's say, the IT crowd. Okay, otherwise, I've never been an IT guy. So pardon me if I don't use the jargons that you're used to, because I'm typically a mechanical engineer. But nevertheless, I'll make my effort, because I look at it from the practical perspective, what's useful to us. Okay. Just to briefly tell you what Eureka Forbes is, you would see that we are part of the Shapurji Palanji group. I mean, we have been in news yesterday, day before, that's different. We are into this business from 1982. In fact, we are a very innovative company. If you really look at it, we were the first direct sales company selling consumer products directly from the manufacturing this thing to the homes, which I don't think anybody had at that time. So effectively what we are is highly innovative and highly adaptable. We change with times, and we want to be a step ahead in the market. Okay, and as you see, we are one of the largest direct sales company. We have one of the widest service networks in India. Practically, our products are sold all over India, and we are able to service them. And this is where the IoT comes. That's what we would like to state. And we also incidentally operate in about 62 countries. I mean, all over the world, especially in Europe, America, and Africa. And we are a super brand, which you see. And just to give you, we have 8,000 Euro champs, as we call. Each employee in the company is called as a champ. So we have about 8,000 employees. And we operate from 237 customer response centers, which are in 145 cities. So you can just, this is basically to give you a magnitude for our operations. Okay. We actually started a concept called Tandurust Bharat. And this was more of an ideology. If you really see here, we have identified few blocks. We said a healthy person leads to a healthy community. And a healthy community results in a healthy nation. And that is what we would like to this thing. So we have some AVs running on the television on this particular program. And we call it as Tandurust Bharat. Okay, and it's been a platform for partnership, action, and innovation for a healthier India. Now, just to give you a brief this thing about what I am with, or rather where we are trying to look at IoT is, Forbes Pro Solutions is the institutional arm of Eureka Forbes. Traditionally, we deal with institutional customers, and that's the division dealing with that is called as the Forbes Pro Solutions. This gives you a basic this thing as to what we deal with. We provide mechanized cleaning solutions. Then we provide devices which give you safe drinking water. We have railway solutions, as we call it. I mean, we provide safe drinking water on the railway platforms, as well as we clean the railway compartments, and we maintain the railway platforms, a host of services. Then we have a facility management company of our own, wholly owned subsidiary. And we also into waste, water, and effluent water and water treatment for larger projects. I mean, can scale up to about 100 MLD and all. Now, what made us think, you know, basically what had happened was we had iBot controls approaching us with a concept. But this concept per se doesn't translate into this thing. It has to, both of us have to work together. He just had something, a platform on which he said, this is what I can offer. Now, how do we adapt it was the biggest challenge. So initially we identified, we drew up some roadmap to say that how will we interact with iBot and what are expectations at the end of each of those milestones that we reach. So the first thing that we said, why do we need this, was to create a proactive after-sales service model. Because after-sales service, one, is actually a pain and can also be this thing for a company. Some people are extremely happy with the after-sales service, so we have repeat sales. There's big business. Some people are so unhappy with the after-sales service that they stop buying products, so there are loss of sales. So after-sales service, in fact, especially in these consumer durables or in the institutional market, does make a large amount of this thing. It actually facilitates business for us. So we looked at it to create a proactive. Today what was happening is our service model was more of a reactive. It fails, the customer calls up our helpline or our call center, informs that my machine has failed. Please come and rectify it. Now what used to happen is, until and unless the customer saw the machine failure and reported to us, we never bothered to this thing. And we used to carry out some maintenance schedules, after 3 months, we replace some cartridges or something. We found that some of the places, they wouldn't have used these cartridges. So it is just that I would, because it was time-based, every 3 months I go there, remove that cartridge, throw it and replace it. So it did cost us some money, or it costed the customer too some money, okay? So this was one of the other things. So we said, can IoT help us, and improve the customer satisfaction? Because Eureka Forbes traditionally has been always, our entire focus is on customer satisfaction, because we believe in building relationships, and we call them as our friend for life. Okay, then we also wanted to use this IoT for monitoring, remote monitoring our plants, because we have them in very, very remote locations. We have water treatment systems supplied to industries in very remote locations, and having a service engineer located there would cost us a lot of money. So we said, can we monitor this remotely? So that was one of the other things. And we also wanted to have a centralized control system for quick service turnaround. Means try to this thing so that we have something like a control room where they know how are all the products working and what are the other things. And towards this, in fact, I must say, Sanjay's iBot controls came up with this thing, though it took some time. I must say it has not been that he understood our requirements and plop came a product. It never happened that way. It was a process of iteration, and I think now it has matured somewhere. And we have actually been using it for the last 8 months, okay, which I'll this thing. And we are now able to appreciate and understand the benefits of this particular device. Okay, so they have come out with a GSM and a cloud computing solutions comprising of wireless hardware, wireless communication, and industrial grade. Now, how did the iBot do it? See, the GSM-based helped us. There was no geographical constraint. In fact, one of the thing was he did tell us that it would cost you less to have a Wi-Fi enabled. But I told him, like, I might have a place where they won't be a Wi-Fi facility. At least you will have a network available, a GSM network. So we looked at it this way. Cloud computing, obviously, we can access it using any device. Real-time information helps our engineers get information on a real-time basis. Historical data, we acquire and keep a lot of historical data. Helps us to develop better products, improve the product, that is the thing. And what we have also done is, we were looking at adopting it for providing a business model called as pay-per-use, okay, where we give a product to a person and tell them, for every liter I'll charge you X rupees or X paise. So there could be a condition. Indians are very innovative in tampering, okay. Like I had somebody asking me in UK, I'm sure you must be having a lot of vending machines. I said, no, we don't have. We have a man to vend. They said, why are you wasting a manpower? I said, no, it's better. Because tomorrow in Ludhiana, you'll have guys making those small coins to say that this is a Pepsi vending coin, which, for this thing, you buy it for 100 rupees, you'll get 200 coins. Because obviously it works in something. So we are very, very innovative. So we wanted to identify a few tamper conditions, which we have done. And hopefully, we detect them at the right time and save our revenues. Okay. This is where we have done. Okay. Incidentally, we have set up some pure water or safe water shops on railway platforms. These are called as Pani Ka Doctor Dukan. Okay, and these are found in about 140 locations in India, in Bihar, Karnataka. We have devices in Goa, Maharashtra, all over. And basically this particular shop sells water on the railway platform. I'm sure if you go to Mysore, you would see a few of them. If you go to Hubli, you go to Belgaum, you go to Samastipur, you'll see them. So we sell water, at some predetermined rates as fixed by the railways. Now, the biggest challenge was these are all in very remote stations. In fact, in Bihar, we have about 16 stations, which are quite remote. And having a service engineer there was a very painful thing. And any loss in, let's say, the machine's capability to produce water would mean a loss of business to us. Means I have to make water, I sell it. If the machine doesn't make water, I don't sell it and I make losses. So that was the basic idea. So we have deployed the iBot here. So what we do is, one is it provides us on a real-time basis the functional status of these machines. Second is it also tells me how much of water has actually been produced by the machine, gives me a check because I have a guy who's manning that and he shouldn't, eventually land up swindling the revenue. So it gives me a bit of a check. So we use this for checking out whether my revenues are on par with what we have produced. And more importantly also it tells me when to change the component because most of our components are usage dependent. Okay. This is basically a configuration which I think he has got the device here. I'll show it to you. Okay, this is the connection diagram, how we have configured it in our thing. And this is the real device. Okay, a close-up picture of the real device. Okay, we have, as I said, we are going through some phases. The first phase is this. We'll move on to provide this particular devices in our products to what we call as key customers who give us good business, so improve their customer satisfaction. And offer a business model which is pay-per-use. And thereafter, we want to use it for remote monitoring large water treatment systems, where there could be about 50, 60 parameters to be monitored. And there are some routines to be done, so that is what we would like to look at. Okay. So I think I've come to the end of the other thing. Thank you very much. Indeed, pleasure was mine talking to you guys. Okay. This is typical beach.
You guys hear me? Okay. A little bit of a rapid fire with the folks who are on stage. I think I have a few questions. I think the first one is for Varsha. So you mentioned the 150 million India fund. So what exactly are you expecting from a startup ecosystem and what are the potential opportunities for the startups in this audience probably?
Sure. So we announced that last year. Just to clarify, Qualcomm Ventures has been investing in India since 2007. So this was a formal announcement last year with Prime Minister Modi. What we do is we have 3 different investment programs. We run a seed contest called Q Prize, which is the smallest check from Qualcomm. That's about $250,000. The past winners of this has been Reverie, which does language as a service, Capillary that does mobile phone as a loyalty device, DecApp that does very smart PowerPoint, very light for the phone. So these are 3 example companies. They came from various, as you see, mostly software, but really using phone as a device to help people to do better within their business line. The last winner was this year was Arc Robotics, which does robots for warehouses. So it's really split between hardware and software. Then we have a regular investment program, which would be the traditional Series A, B, and C. And here we would invest in horizontal building blocks that we can find in India, and then within verticals, whether it is enterprise or consumer or health tech. So within the hardware or the hardware space in IoT, we are looking for additional guys. Outside of Arc Robotics in India, we haven't done any, so open to that. The horizontal building blocks are some of our example companies are companies like Xiaomi and MapMyIndia. I think those are the two core tech companies that we have in India. In the enterprise space, we have companies like Capillary and Mindtickle. Mindtickle provides on-the-go training to Ola drivers or people in the hinterland, the Dabur Salesforce, etc. In the health tech space, we've done Portia, which uses mobile technology to help guys at home. So these are some of the sample companies I gave you as examples. But we look in all the 4 areas of investments from a sector standpoint. So if you have anything in those 4 areas, please look us up. And we would be really focused only on mobile and internet. If you have something in real estate or an FMCG company, that's not our expertise. We try and get you guys in, help you with technology collaboration. We help you with customer introductions. We have a global ventures program in 7 countries, so you also benefit from experiences of companies within the other nations. We also run a CEO summit once a year in San Diego, and we run a speed dating session where you can meet your customers in 10 minutes. You have to make an elevator pitch to get into the customers. So those are some of the value adds from our side, and we look forward to a great relationship with companies in India.
Great, thank you. Thank you. So lots of opportunities lurking around, so please look it up. So Sandeep, I have a question for you. You stressed on the standardization aspects. I know that there's a lot happening in terms of RAMI 4.0, and there are also groups like the IIC, the Industrial Internet Consortium, that are trying to derive standards. So where do you see in terms of the journey that we are in? And what do you think is the time horizon when these standards would be actually effective?
Okay, so I'm not a technology guy, so many of those jargons are very alien to me.
That's right.
But just from an technology standard point of view, right, I feel from IoT, like the type of devices we are using, I feel there is already a set of stable platforms which are available, like we've talked about MQTT and things like that, which I feel is already stable, and there are already things which are available. For example, coming from an industry which is already automated, so there is already a level of maturity it has achieved. So we have Modbus and things like that. So I really don't think there is a need for a massive transformation in terms of standards. I feel, at least from my perspective, I feel we have worked with multiple companies who are using available technologies to create amazing solutions. Okay. So I really don't think that would be a major hindrance in terms of absorbing such technologies in industries.
Sure.
Because they are really looking for a change.
Okay. Thank you. So, Captain Seshadri, one question for you. So, you talked about India, and you talked about the fact that this is something that's going to be transformative from an India perspective, especially in terms of water and pure water. I know in one of your slides you had this thing about water as a service. How do you think the government can actually help in making this more widely reachable? Because I think clean water is one of our biggest problems in this country.
In fact, I think as a part of the Swachh Bharat campaign, the government has, tried putting a large amount of, let's say, I will put it this way, that they have given enough importance towards safe water and clean water. And towards that, you find that what we have today put up on the railway platforms is a part of that particular initiative by the Government of India or the other thing, because railways has also been told to set up safe drinking water, kiosks or dispensing units on the railway platforms, and that's what they have done. And I don't say, of late, in fact, over the last 2-3 years, we've been seeing a large amount of, let's say, governmental help to provide safe drinking water. In fact, it's going into schools, it's going into rural villages. In fact, we are setting up water stations which are going to provide safe drinking water to villagers, where they're afflicted by a large amount of impurities like arsenic, fluorides, and other things. So over the last 3 years, it's been a very major this thing, and we find crores of rupees are being funded by the government to have this. And I think that's where the IoT would help us, because they're all very remote villages, and that's where we are trying to look at.
Okay, right. Thank you. Now, I have a couple of questions for, I think first let me start with Sanjay. So I know you've been with the iBot journey. I thought maybe you can show us your device so that maybe at least people can get a feel for what a connected device looks like?
Sure. So the way iBot works is basically through a piece of hardware that actually integrates with the machine. So we talked about the water purifier, and this is the device that integrates with the water purifier. So this is the piece of electronics which has compute capability on it as well as connectivity built into a small form factor. This integrates with another small piece of electronics the way I showed here. This is the unit that goes into this box, and this box then gets installed on the machine, on the water purifier. So that is the assembly which we ship to Eureka Forbes, and then Eureka Forbes installs it right at the factory level. The way this works is we have sensors inside the machine. The sensors provide information of how much water is being dispensed, whether the certain compressor or certain machine is on or off, how much current is being consumed, what is the TDS of water, etc. Or even the geographical location on GPS. That information is captured and communicated over to cloud over a secure GPRS connectivity. And then on the cloud, we assess that information. There's certain decision making that happens on the cloud. There's also some decision making that happens on the device. And so, Captain Seshadri talked about tampering. If a certain type of tamper is detected, we actually stop the flow of water right there. We don't actually even tell the cloud that there is a tamper. It is done right there on the device itself. So there are, there is a set of intelligence on the device, certain, communication which is secure, and then a whole lot of intelligence and further analytics that happens on the cloud. That's how this entire end-to-end system actually works.
Fascinating. So I think one question for Krishnan. I think I know you've been on this startup journey for a period of time. Can you kind of share with us what your challenges have been in evolving the business, and are there any indicators that the environment is getting easier and easier for startups? Can you comment on that?
Good question, Srikanth. So let me start actually with something, because I was asked a very similar question 4 weeks back in Singapore. I was speaking at the IoT Asia Summit. What I told them was, we started our journey 4 years back. 4 years back, IoT was a conference topic. Today, it is a conference room topic. That's the change that has happened. I'll just give you actually a few examples from our perspective itself. About 6 months back, the announcement was there where Sodexo was actually going ahead and utilizing our solution for technical services for close to around 32,000 sites across 80 countries in the world. About 1 month back, Hitachi went ahead and announced their partnership with Flutura. They are taking actually the Flutura Cerebra solutions to the entire Japanese market. A week back, in fact, actually Sandeep spoke to Forbes. Forbes wrote an article on how business value, return on investment can actually be derived by going ahead and doing it. If I were to reflect back, the reason why all of this is happening is all because of actually certain views related to return on investment. We get a lot of people talking about a lot of solution which doesn't have actually depth. And when it comes in terms of the industrial space, I can tell you data is not the problem. You have enough and more data that is available for you to go ahead and actually work with. Are you able to go ahead and look at it in terms of actually how you leverage that data to drive ROI, which is actually an impact? So just picking up actually numbers from Sandeep's presentation. 18 billion organization. We are talking about actually something close to around half of it being adhesives. 2 to 3% is the industry average of rework cost. Just do the math. We are talking about actually solving a solution which is $200 to $250 million in benefit every single year. The solution is actually being designed in a manner where we are going ahead and implementing it, and it's implemented in the Dragon plant, which is what Sandeep was explaining, but to be scaled across 1,000+ manufacturing lines in the world. We are talking to so many similar customers who have a similar problem. In fact, actually, Sandeep has been getting inquiries post the Forbes article about other companies wanting to reach out and try and see how we go ahead and do it. Focus is on actually business benefits. Focus, in fact, actually, Varsha touched upon a very, very important aspect, which is about diversity. When you define the solution, it has to be a solution that can scale. If it is not going to be able to scale across the variety that is there, it won't work. And that's what actually we have been focusing on in the last 4 years. So again, coming back to challenges, Srikanth, when we started, there were companies doing lip service. Now today, if you really see, Mr. Seshadri and Sandeep and all are actually shining examples of people who believe saying that the smaller organizations can go ahead and actually transform. They can innovate at a pace which others can only dream about. And they are working along with us in terms of going ahead and actually taking it. Think about Hitachi going ahead and actually signing up a partnership and formally announcing it in the press with a company like Flutura. They have actually in-depth, this $80 billion organization on others. So my feeling is actually the challenges were primarily in terms of actually focus of the companies and willingness for them to explore. We are seeing actually it's back.
Extremely promising. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. I think we have about 7 to 8 minutes. I'll just open it out to the floor for any questions that you guys might have. Please put your hand up. We can get you a mic.
Hi, my name is Ishu Gupta. I have a question regarding the Eureka Forbes solution that you have put up in the smaller towns. Isn't the GSM connectivity and the speed a challenge while you are using or transferring data from those
It's actually
point of sales?
I mean, we have never, because the quantity of data which is actually transferred is very limited. So we have never seen that as a constraint as of now. Okay. I mean, and we are not transferring huge amount of data. I mean, it's very, very, very minimal.
But normally these machines have sensors which keep on generating data
Correct.
every second,
It depends
every
upon
minute.
at what interval I want this data to be collected and transferred. So we have selected what we call as a very optimal interval. So we have never found it as a impediment or a constraint.
See, one of the new developments that we are doing now on those lines is to work with virtual network operators who abstract services from 6, 7, 8, leading network providers, and we put in a single SIM card, and it will find the most optimal GPRS signal and latch on to that GPRS signal. And so we ship our devices now with the SIM cards without knowing where it is going to go globally. The one that we have tied up with works in 450 different, with 450 different network operators globally. So that is no communication, we believe, is no longer a constraint for adoption of IoT.
Other questions?
That's something we, these are all commercially, confidential matters, but, work with us, we'll help you if you have any specific objectives.
Okay, while people are thinking of questions, I have a question. So Varsha, I think this question is for you. You talked about imaging and how essentially understanding of imagery is going to transform certain businesses. I know security and data privacy has been a huge, huge issue, and there have been lawsuits in the US with regard to even tracking people movements around. So how do you think that is going to transform? Because I mean, this is an invasion of privacy the way I see it. So.
Do you own an Android phone?
No, I own an Apple phone.
Okay, doesn't matter. How many guys here own an Android phone? And how many of you guys think that your life is private? Nobody, right? Sure. It has become so, it's actually scary. So I had this honest dialogue with one of the lawyers at Google. I said, it's creepy. I had kept the position location on, and I went somewhere, and it said, take pictures here. I'm like, what? And store them. So I think that it's a very fine line. And the Google lawyer said that they're working really hard to ensure that it doesn't cross that privacy. I think in industrial situations, it's different, right? So security, I think there's clear ROI. You want to know who is trespassing. So if you now get a new ADT system, which is a popular system in the US for home security, it's IoT enabled. All of that system is enabled, right? So I think that it's really in the businesses, it's going to happen really quickly. In the consumer case, I think we have the illusion that it is private. I don't think it is. Facebook, how many people click the box on WhatsApp saying, don't transfer my data to Facebook? That's pretty good, but I'm sure you guys are in minority, right? Even in this room, which is the IT room, it's not 100%. Were you guys aware that such a thing is happening?
No.
Right? So I think that it's really become an impediment, really. You have to know what's happening. But it's a very serious, kidding aside, I think it's a very serious thing. But within industrial applications, I think there's clear ROI. In the consumer space, everybody will ask for opt-in permission, but how many of us really check that? Every time you install an app on Google App Store, you basically give them all permissions, right? So, I think we've crossed that hurdle already. But it's definitely a very tricky point, specifically in cameras.
Sure. Pause for a minute for any other questions. Yeah, Mike.
I'm Prabhu from RMK Institutions. I am from education background. So after hearing from you, I'm sure that IoT is going to come in a big way. So what's your plan to get a talent on this latest technology, to get in a lateral market or hire from campus? What's your plan? Thank you.
I can take that. It's a combination of both. So obviously, I think one of the big things about talent hiring for IoT is that in the past, software companies hired computer science engineers. And that was the only thing that really was fruitful for them. Now what we're starting to do is we're starting to look at a cross-section of people that need to be in the company, including designers, data scientists. We're talking about essentially software engineers plus mechanical engineers, electronics engineers, and also domain experts. I think Sandeep talked about domain expertise. We're looking at a cross-section of people who we are having to hire just to exploit a single use case in IoT. So some we train, some we hire from the market who may not have all of these skills, but we hire them with one particular specialty and cross-train them in the other areas. That's how we're trying to fill the gap. Is that a foolproof solution? No, but that's what we're doing at this point. So I don't know, anybody else wants to add something?
At iBot, we are actually soon enough launching, what is called as the iBot Academy, with a focus on getting, a whole lot of young talented engineers to start working on the platform, innovating new solutions, leveraging the platform. Keep watching. In a couple of months, you should see something, out there.
Okay. I think we've run out of time. So any other questions, you can take it offline. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay. So we have 2-3 minutes. Anybody else has any questions? Yeah, there's one there. And one more there.
To Sanjay, is it? So is it something like an open source platform that you want to build with that academy? What is the expectation of doing that?
Okay. So, see, all along, the challenge that we have all faced, in India we have done very well on software, right? We are very good in cloud, we are very good in software. Our challenge has always been hardware. In India, embedded systems, firmware, communications, radio frequency, RF communications. This has been, a bottleneck in, innovating new solutions. That is one, of course. The other is enclosure design. IP-rated enclosures are just not, how do you build an IP-rated enclosure? What IP is the right IP, right? maybe many of us here will not be aware of IP24 versus IP67 versus IP65. So there is a whole lot of work and innovation that has to happen on the physical part of the device, the electronics, the enclosure, the plastic, the antenna, and so on. So this is where we find there is a gap in terms of knowledge, and if we are able to bridge it in some way, the adoption will significantly scale. And that's why we've been actually, soon enough we'll launch the academy with a structured program, and we'll actually certify these graduates or these engineers on the iBot platform.
Just have one comment on that. This is the old embedded system design work. It's called IoT now, but it's really the old embedded system design work. So I think the embedded Linux guys are going to be kings here. So if you did embedded Linux before, you were under the radar, now you are the king. People who understand, like he said, hardware, different diversity sort of goes back to that. Understanding the complete stack as opposed to understanding the horizontal layers. But really, it's the time for embedded Linux to come back.
NoSQL was not there at all, right? That has changed the game. Now you don't pay for the database. And you're able to connect with NoSQL databases, and there are nearly 29, and they're pretty stable, and you now depend on open source a lot.
Do you know who you are?
Yeah, so I'm Sundar Vardalaj. So I mentor a few startups, and yeah, I worked in the corporate for some time. So.
I'm Vijay Gupta. I run a software services company, Think Future Technologies. So my question is to Krishnan and maybe Sanjay. So most of the use cases that you have for IoT implementation, is this one-way communication from the chip to the cloud, or do you also have use cases where it's the reverse?
Both. Very clearly, actually, both in terms of this. So if you were to go ahead and look at it on trying to categorize it into two broad buckets, I would go ahead and think about it in terms of actually putting it under smart connected operations and smart connected assets. So if you look at actually these two aspects, what we find is the operations for the feedback loop, unless otherwise it is very secure. So which is what actually Varsha was saying that on this. Unless otherwise it is very, very secure, you don't look at it in terms of actually doing it. Whereas the moment it gets into the smart connected assets, so for example, actually Stewart & Stevenson, which is the world's largest shale equipment manufacturer, is our customer. So what they do from an asset perspective is they collect all the data for certain special interventions that are required. They can even actually go ahead and push back actually onto the edge on others. It's two-way, but the second way, the moment it starts moving, you need an end-to-end secure platform to be able to go.
Yeah, hi. My name is Arjun Bala, and I'm a patent attorney and founder of an IP firm. I'm also founder of a group, innovation and tech group called Tech London Advocates in India. So my question is either to Krishnan or to Sanjay. Like, how do you manage to cross the chasm? Like, your first large corporate customer, how do you sign them up? It's easy to get early adopters, but then, like, when a large corporate, how do you first convince them? I would like to ideally hear from both of you, but anyone.
Okay. So first and foremost, in fact, last week I was actually at a Smart CEO event actually talking about exactly the same thing. The topic that was given to me was first 100 days, what were the decisions that you took, which kind of sustained you? We are touching 4 years now, so sustained you for the 4 years. One of the things that I talked about was actually persistence. I was giving an example out there. For one of our first largest customers, I talked about them a little earlier. They chose us. On Friday, we closed the deal. And we said, actually, Monday morning, you're going to go ahead and come and start deploying Cerebra and actually start moving on. Monday morning, the LOA never came on this. And they said somebody had intervened from Singapore. And the decision is going to be taken in 6 weeks. We took a decision that in that 6 weeks, and in fact actually the person who took that decision is sitting out here, a person named Ganesh. We took a decision that in 6 weeks we will build it and show it. We put our time, we went ahead and actually built it and show it. On that day when the solution was demonstrated, the CEO of the company, CEO of India, just turned around and said, I think we'll make the right decision. And everybody knew what the right decision was. So persistence is actually a very, very important aspect in terms of going through with it. The second aspect actually that I talked about last week was that it's not about never ever approach anything with a mindset of making money upfront. If you are serious about the problem that you are solving, if you are passionate about actually the problem that you are solving, and you make your customer successful, after that the customer will make you successful on this. See, there are certain cases actually where we have really visionary guys. In fact, to me, let me share this experience. Can you imagine how we got Henkel as a customer? Just let me know. Sandeep was searching something in the internet, came across us. He tried our board number, he couldn't get through. So he dropped a one-line message in our website saying, I am interested. The next day, Ganesh had a discussion with Sandeep. 2 weeks later, I was in Shanghai, talking to Sandeep, sharing our experiences with him. Open, transparent discussions. And 2 months later, actually, we started off the project. 9 weeks, we went live. And that's where actually the product, the thing. First visualization of value happened actually in 9 weeks' time. That's where actually the product comes in terms of going ahead and actually powering it. And that was presented to the entire team. The global head of quality, and you need people like Sandeep. Actually, it is really people like him who really, really matter in terms of this, who can go against the corporate red tapes that happen. And 2 months down the line, the global head of process automation and quality, he came in and saw our solution and said, this is worthwhile, you need to go ahead and take it global. Same thing happened with us in Sodexo. Same thing happened with us in Hitachi. Hitachi has a competing solution called Lumada. But they felt, Hitachi High Technologies, when they went ahead and signed that partnership with us, they felt that we will move faster. There is no
So thank you very much, all of you, for attending this session. I think this was a very interesting session where we talked about, products being installed in Indian railway stations to the factories in China. I think that's the breadth of development. It's happening in India and all through startups. And with that intention, we have opened up the Center of Excellence for IoT, where we work primarily with the startups. So thank you, all of you, for attending this. And thank you, Srikanth, for doing a wonderful job of getting these questions and moderating the session.